Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and please subscribe, turn on that bell, and hit the thumbs up for me. That would be wonderful. Very much appreciated. All right, well, the season is over. That's right. The New York Knicks 2020-2021 season is officially over. It's been over for almost a week. And I must say, this is the first. This is actually a video that is long overdue. It's taken me a little bit longer to put this one out than usual because, to be honest with you, I was a bit heartbroken, shattered after that playoff loss last week. Right now, and I feel I probably. A lot of Knicks fans probably feel the same way. The majority probably do. I could tell by, the response that was on the internet afterwards, on Twitter and social media and on YouTube and the comments and everything. We, it took us a while. It was kind of like a bomb went off, and we all woke up in the infirmary. Some of us bandaged up, some of us, in crutches. A few of us are just starting to eat solid foods now. That's how traumatizing that loss was to Knicks fans. The way it went out, it just shouldn't have gone that way, but it did. And those are some realities that we have to deal with. And now we have to deal with the reality of next season. Now, let me just say right out front right now. This team, this season explains exactly why I am a Knicks fan. I will always be a Knicks fan, and why I have been a Knicks fan since I was 6 years old, pretty much. That's a long time. That's 50 years. 50 years, and I've only seen 2 championships since then, and it was really early on. Seen a couple of NBA Finals appearances, a couple of teams that made me really excited. But this team just came out of nowhere. This is just one of those teams that just put it together, and really, it surprised the entire NBA. It surprised. I think it surprised the majority of the fan base. Definitely surprised Vegas. The best thing about it is that it's just the beginning. We have a solid core, our youth, a very young core. We have a fantastic coach who won Coach of the Year. Our player leader, won Most Improved Player of the Year. He was an all-star. Our number 2, R.J. Barrett, made a huge leap from last year. But we're going to get through all this. What we're going to do here is we're going to look forward, but first we're going to look back. This is going to be a postmortem. Because this team had so much heart and commitment to winning and to playing hard every single night that it should be acknowledged and it should be praised, really. Look at that love that they had there. That's the kind of love that, it's real. It was genuine. People love playing with each other and playing for each other. They said every post game interview that everyone did, all they did was praise the chemistry and the culture that's around this team, and these players were a big part of it. They really were. They really, really were. But we're gonna do a postmortem. All right. The first thing in a postmortem is usually after a project or a campaign. I've worked a lot in advertising. Once we do a campaign or any kind of project, afterwards, you do a postmortem to find out what worked, what didn't work, how you can improve. So here we're going to run through a couple of quick questions. Did we get the desired result? I think that's 100% yes. 41-21. Come on. We basically almost doubled the predicted win total. And remember, this is a shortened season. And probably the best thing that happened is that the perception of the NBA has completely changed towards the Knicks. That hashtag LOL Knicks, gone, over, done. This team put that a tombstone. Put that on a tombstone. Put that on a tombstone for the attitude of the NBA before this team and this season. This team is now basically the perception that was around the NBA was that this was an incompetent franchise, can't win in New York, not worth it. All that's gone. All that's gone. When you hear people like LeBron praising the crowds at MSG, Donovan Mitchell tweeting it out. I mean, people have acknowledged that this is a special place to play, and that truly was something that we wanted to happen. We needed to happen, because how else can we move forward without changing that negative perception? All right, number 2, what went right? Well, I've already touched upon it a lot. The team chemistry, the commitment to, basically they bought in on Thibodeau's cultural change, that winning is all that matters, and it comes through hard work and preparation. And these guys bought in. And the beautiful part about it is that when everyone buys in together, that's what people mean. That's what players mean by a cultural change. Establish a culture. The culture is, you can't half-ass it if you're going to be on this team. You got to give it your all. You got to come in. You got to shoot around constantly, at night, morning, everything. Put the effort in constantly. It's all you think about is this team, basketball 24/7, and winning and how to win. And that is the culture that was established. Number 2, the Rose trade. The Derrick Rose trade, which I was leery of at first, for reasons I've said before. The first experience with him wasn't so great. Actually loved watching him play and everything. It was more of how it ended. And I was worried about how it was going to impact quickly, and whether it was going to set back his point guard potential or his development. But in the end, without Derrick Rose, there is no 4th seed, so that is something that was done right. The third thing was the incredible leveling up that Julius Randle and RJ Barrett did, and really the whole team. A lot of players had career years for three-point percentage, but none more so dramatic than Julius Randle. I believe he had the second biggest gain in three-point percentage in the past 20 years since Joe Johnson. That right there, the hard work that he put in over the summer just shows right there. The next thing is RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett last year was the most inefficient starter in the NBA. I'm talking about 2019, 2020. This season, man, he became, I think he's one of the best two-way young players, like under 21, in the NBA right now. His three-point shooting, 40%. He went from 32% last season to 40%. 40.1, I think. Outstanding. Now, he still has a lot to work on. Absolutely. But he's only 20 years old. And without that leveling up that those two did, there is no 41 and 21. There is no Coach of the Year for Thibs. It's just the way it happens. Thibs will tell you. He owes it to the team. All right. Now, the third question is, what could have gone better? All right. Waiting for this thing to switch over. What could have gone better? Oh, come on, computer. There we go. All right. What could have gone better? Well, for one, the minutes load. All right. The minutes load is a big issue, and in the end, it may have cost us at least the ability to make the Atlanta Hawks series competitive. And I'll tell you why. In May, Julius Randle's numbers dropped tremendously in those last 9 games from the previous in April. And it coincided with him playing his most amount of minutes. Same thing happened to RJ. RJ and Julius were number 1 and 2 in minutes played in the NBA this season. Diminishing returns. I get it. I get Thibs' thinking. You know what? When I put other people out there, we just end up giving away leads, or we fall further behind. We're just not as strong. So I got to play my horses as much as I can. Cool. I get that idea. But there is a tipping point where you overdo it. and in the end it costs you. And I think that's what we saw in the playoffs. The drastic drop off for Julius Randle's mid-range and three-point shooting. You know, he struggled throughout the whole season with the rim efficiency, but the mid-range was there and the three-point shot was there, and it just wasn't there in the playoffs. And it wasn't really there towards in the last 9 games for Julius. So similar thing happened to RJ. Similar thing happened. His 2-point finishing ability really dropped off, and that can be attributed to some tired legs. Now I thought, hey, you know what? They're going to get a week off in between. Wasn't enough. Didn't really help. And that week off may have actually had another counter negative effect for Julius, is that, you know, it kind of ices him a bit, like the way an All-Star break does. So that was a major thing. The second thing that could have gone better are adjustments throughout the season and in game. A couple of the main adjustments that I think Thibs should have done was he should have played the bench more. He should have played Knox more. He should have played Frank more, because those guys have special skills that could have been used actually in the playoffs. We needed shooting. We had a dearth of offense. Knox can shoot the three. Knox can shoot over people. He's long, he's tall, he can do it. And the other thing is Frank. Frank never really was given enough burn to develop, to get back into his flow of being a defensive stopper, which we could have really used against Trae Young, as we know. The other thing is Immanuel Quickley. In my opinion, Immanuel Quickley, we missed an opportunity to try to develop him into a point guard or a combo guard, like a real combo guard. Have him really learn how to handle an offense to make plays for others. Remember, this was a truncated season, hardly any practice during the season, so there was no time to work on these things in between games. So you had to work on them during games. So that's one thing that I wished Thibs would do. Also, in the beginning part of the season, he waited too long to go with the hot hand. You know, like somebody would get hot, Quickley would hit 2-3 3-pointers, and Thibs would pull them. So it's that kind of stuff that is frustrating, and I hope he really continues his evolution as a coach and tries to be a little more flexible and look for more creative ways to inject this team with offense when needed or defense when needed. Not just keep going with the same guys all the time. And the other thing was Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton, sticking with him so long. In fact, he had to wait until a game and a half into the playoffs before he finally made the move. That was too long. Because we couldn't find out what the other guys had. You know, Burks could have been handling the point more for the second unit. Frank could have been handling the point more for the second. It could have been a shared job, you know, with IQ as well, you know, if Rose is going to be the starter. So we missed out a great opportunity there, and that was just acting too slowly, and it cost the Knicks in the end. The playoffs could have gone much better, and actually most of the things I just outlined right now end up pointing towards the playoffs, because at the end of the day, yes, getting into the playoffs was a great achievement, something we never expected. But once you get invited to the ball, you're going to want to dance with the prince or princess. You know what I mean? You're not just going to be there to just eat hors d'oeuvres at the table. You know, you want to get in there. You want to dance. You want to be a part of the show. You know, we got the gentleman's sweep. That was really disappointing. I'm still not really over it. Let me just put it that way. All right. Now let's go to number 4. If this thing will switch over fast enough. Let's see here. Come on. Computer's slow today. Very slow. Come on. What a bummer. Come on. Oh, boy. Come on. All right. Okay. So this is question number 4 that you normally ask in a postmortem. What could be done differently next time? Like if it's a project or next year. In this case, it's next season. Well, for one, we need more offense. And I didn't mention it in the adjustments part because I had this here, small ball. I know Obi, it took him a while to kind of get his sea legs under him. Let's just put it that way. It took him a while. He really didn't show much for the first half of the season. Then kind of showed a couple of blips here and there. And then there was a little period there where he started popping. You know, I put out the video, Obi Toppin is finally popping. He was starting to show some stuff, but Thibs still wouldn't give him enough time. And part of the problem was he had an all-star in front of him in the rotation at his position. So how do you adjust to that? You play small. You go small. I mean, the Clippers just started Mook in the 5-hole just now against Utah Jazz. That's an adjustment. We should have gone small. You know, whether Obi's at the 5 or Julie's at the 5, it doesn't matter. This would have helped stretch the floor out. It would have pulled the defensive center, the defensive big, away from the hoop, and I'll give more room for Julius to drive, for RJ to drive, Rose to drive, anyone to drive. Instead, it was always somebody shadowing because they didn't have to pay much attention to Taj or Nerlens, especially since we lost Mitch. Mitch, they do have to pay a little more attention to, but Mitch doesn't give us that long ball, offensive long ball, and Obi does. So I want to see more of that next season. And we need a starting point guard. Whether it is Derrick Rose that comes back as the starter, whether we draft one, whatever it is, we need a bona fide starting point guard who's a playmaker, who can break down a defense and find the open guy. That's what we need. And when he drives, he finishes. How about that? And how about one who, when he shoots from behind the arc, he hits it at least 38% of the time. How about that? How about that? That would be nice. All right, the next thing that needs to happen that can be done differently for next season is leveling up part 2. Every single player who's going to be returning next season needs to improve, and they can. Randall, we know he can improve. We know he can. He says it himself. RJ, he's going to be working on his wiggle. He's going to be working on his finishing. He's going to be working on his mid-range game and continue working on his three-point game the way he did last summer, which obviously paid tremendous benefits. So those two things have to happen. I believe that those two will happen. I believe that. IQ has got to become more consistent. His three-point shooting has to become more consistent. Got that floater, more consistent. But the one thing he needs to work on, his playmaking. He needs to work on his playmaking. Playmaking for others and playmaking for himself. Obi, I already touched on him. Obi should really look into becoming a stretch 5. Or that's basically he should look into becoming a stretch 5 at this point if he's going to stay on this team with Julius, because Julius is the power. Or they can flip flop either way, doesn't really matter. And Mitch Robinson, when he comes back healthy, I want to see you shoot the 3, man. You know, I'm tired of watching the social media videos of you shooting the 3. I'm convinced you can do it. And in fact, I know you can because I saw you in your first NBA Summer League and you were shooting it during the warm-ups, and you were shooting it early on, and you looked, it needed work, but you were doing it. And I'm sure by now you could at least, if you could hit 1 out of 3, which isn't that great, but at least it provides some long ball offense from that position. That would be really, really important. The other thing we need to do is add 2 more playmakers. Burks was good, but I believe he was a little too inconsistent. But I would say if we brought him back, I would be happy with that. Totally would be happy with that. But the small forward, we need a small forward who can at least dribble, who can do a little bit of playmaking. Reggie was great at what he did, but he was very, very limited offensively, and it hurts the team. It hurts the team offense. Okay, so now that we've gone through all of that, where are we? What are we going to do? What are we going to do next season? Huh? What's Leon got up his sleeve? Well, we know what Derrick Rose said. Derrick Rose said they have big plans. Big plans. So what are those plans? All right, next season. Are we going to run it back or go all in? It sounds like there's going to be a major attempt to make some major moves. Whether they're go all in moves or run it back moves or maybe somewhere in between, I don't know. But I'm going to recap what it means to do either. Okay? If we were to go all in, meaning you got to acquire two number ones to come to this team, and we keep Randall, that's it. That's going all in. How do you do that? Well, I touched on it some on my Dame Lillard video. One is we don't have enough assets to trade for two number ones. So we only have enough assets to trade for one number one, and you have to sign the other one via free agency. All right, so that's interesting. The other option is just run it back. Bring in pieces that fit the core, young players, under 23 and under ish, who have already shown like improvements in their game, who've shown like they have tremendous potential and that their better days are ahead. Those kind of players will fit really well, and of course that are committed to working hard and committed to defense. Those players will fit in really well with this core, and who knows? I mean, that could really kind of congeal really beautifully together. And next season we could get that fourth seed, which was a total surprise, but this time get to the second round. Get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Become a contender, a potential contender. There's a way to run it back and add pieces and do that as well. The only problem is the East is going to get better and the West is going to get better. But we only care about the East because teams like Miami, they're not going to stand pat. No way. Celtics are going to be better. There were a lot of teams that were disappointments this season that are going to be better next season. So the Knicks have to be better. So running it back really means maintaining the core, but upgrading every other position that you possibly can and adding depth. All right. Well, let's look at the all-in scenario. You see, I put the Lonzo Ball and Dame Lillard pictures there because they represent the two different approaches. If the team was to go all in that scenario, meaning turn this team into a contender, like a bona fide contender, that means like a top 4 to 6 team, top 6 team in the NBA. So, the trade targets. The number one thing you have to do is you have to trade for a number one. So, Dame Lillard, if he becomes available, and I gotta say, all signs point to yes. This is the way I interpret the previous events, the most recent events. The whole Jason Kidd thing, and then a Kidd retracting it, and then now Lillard saying, I'm not actually going to be a part of the coach selection. Those are telltale signs. Those are the first few stages of leaving the team or requesting a trade. So I have a feeling that Dame Lillard actually is going to request a trade at some point this summer. That's how I'm reading the tea leaves. That's how I'm reading them. Now there's going to be competition. It's going to be Lakers, there's going to be the Heat and the Knicks. But I got to tell you, I believe partly because of the way that Obi played and IQ played, and we know what Mitch is, and we got the draft picks, man. We have 5 number 1 draft picks over the next 3 seasons. So we can give up 4 draft picks over the next 3 seasons, and we can do some swaps. We have some seconds. We have a really nice package, like a really nice package. But it would probably include RJ Barrett, as I said before. And that one hurts. But to get someone like that, you have to give up something really special. And RJ, in my opinion, is really special. So it would hurt. I'm just painting out the scenarios. I'm not advocating for either of these yet. I'm just laying it out for you guys. So you see this list here is Karl Anthony-Towns, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine. I put De'Aaron Fox on there and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Those are my own that I put on that list. For one, the Kings are a disaster, and OKC they're a disaster, but they have draft picks. They're kind of set up pretty well, but you never know. You never know if you give them the right offer, you could swing a deal. And those two guys at the bottom would satisfy so many. First of all, they're young. They're exactly what I explained, and they are incredible players. That I think their future number one, 1A, 1B, or really high level 2. And they're fast and they play good those two are really exciting. He's on there. Bradley Beal, though, is somebody who is, similar to Dame Lillard, who might end up asking for a trade. And we've already heard those rumors before. Now, these would all cost. And then here's Karl Anthony-Towns as well. Karl Anthony-Towns, I've gone back and forth on, because he has that history with Thibs, and that kind of makes me a little leery of bringing him here for a part 2, a sequel with him. But you never know. He's someone who's interesting, and he actually would fit in this team with either Randall or RJ pretty well. The other thing is, though, you can't just have one. So where do we get the other one? Free agency. Now, this year's free agency is not going to be that exciting. Next year's is going to be. Next year's might be one of the best ones ever. It's going to be like LeBron, Steph Curry. Some big names. Kawhi definitely will be if he doesn't if he doesn't opt out. So in this list, free agents, Chris Paul, Kawhi Leonard, they both have player options. They can opt out. Lowry is an unrestricted. Mike Conley unrestricted. DeMar DeRozan unrestricted. Lonzo Ball, I put on this list, Lonzo, but he is a restricted free agent. That's what that little cross symbol is. But I really like Lonzo. I really like him. I really think he would be a good fit on this team. He's basically is kind of everything that Thibs liked about Elfrid Payton, except better. He's a better passer. He's, great in transition. He's bigger, actually, than Elfrid Payton. Longer. He plays better defense, from what I've seen, than Elfrid Payton. So he would be an interesting get. But the thing is, he's not a number one. I just kind of threw him at the bottom of his list. But he's not a number one. Either is DeMar DeRozan. But, DeMar is a solid 3. You could get away with like a superior 1, like a Dame, right? And a DeMar and a Randall. That kind of would be an interesting team right there. Let's do this. Let's try it again. So Karl Anthony-Towns, Lonzo, and Randall. That's a pretty good team. Is that a top 5 contending team in the NBA? Probably not. But let's say Karl Anthony-Towns and Chris Paul. Now you start talking. Towns is, a much more skilled player than DeAndre Ayton that Paul is playing with right now. Oh man! And then Randall. So Randall would play the Booker role, or let's say we're able to keep RJ. So we got RJ. That could end up working. Really well. That could be a nice combination. Karl Anthony-Towns, if we could trade for him without giving up RJ, and we keep Randall, then we upgrade all around because now we sign Chris Paul. That would be an attractive team for Chris Paul to join. You see where I'm going with all this? But obviously the number one scenario here is Dame Lillard and Kawhi Leonard. Dame Lillard, Kawhi Leonard, and Julius Randle, that is definitely a championship contending team. And then you fill out the rest of the roster with players that are looking to be on a championship team, like a Serge Ibaka, quality. You get quality guys, just the way you see Nets did it. They got Blake, the Lakers got Drummond. You find players that want to join a team that is headed towards the chase for the championship. What do I think we should do? I think that because of the dearth of top level free agents, and even the 2 that are game changers are player options, so it's no guarantees. I think you go with the run it back scenario. Unless you can pull off that, unless you can get the Dame and Kawhi thing going, I think you kind of have to do that. You kind of have to do it because of the New Jersey Nets. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets, there'll always be New Jersey Nets to me. The Brooklyn Nets, man. The Brooklyn Nets are a tremendous dilemma for Dolan and Leon Rose and us Knicks fans. We have to really think about whether we can endure another season or 2 or 3 of the Nets possibly just racking up championships one right after the other, and we're just kind of getting a little bit better each year. That's a rough one. That kind of would be hard to do. So this is a stuck between a rock and a hard place situation, because if the Nets weren't in Brooklyn, let's say it was, the Celtics, which still would suck, or Miami, which still would suck, it wouldn't create the pressure that the Nets being right here creates. And then I would be like, okay, let's just run it back and solidify the team. Let's bring in a guy like Lonzo, let's bring in a guy like Norman Powell, and let's keep Randall, let's keep RJ, Mitch, what I mean? And then we got Obi. I mean, that would be a nice team, upgrade, I would like to also get some real shooters all around. Just get shooters everywhere. So in the draft, get guys like Kispert. Like these are knockdown 3-point shooters. I like Butler from Baylor. I like Mitchell from Baylor. I don't know if we can get that guy because unless we package some of our picks and trade up. But my point is that we need to upgrade in the shooting, and it can be done. It's been done. And this team is now, because of all the positive things that have happened from this incredible, miraculous season, I think it's going to be easier to get guys to come. I don't know if they're necessarily going to, give us a break on salary or anything, but at least they'll give us more than a look. They'll sign. So we're in a good spot. It's a tight situation. It's a rock and a hard place, but at least we have a choice. Where in the past, we would clear salary and try to get big time free agents. No. And when that didn't happen, we were left pretty much holding the bag that no one wanted. Now we have a bag. People want it. And we have a squad. We have a coach of the year. We have an exciting 20-year-old two-way player who I'm sure is going to evolve into, either he's going to get in the conversation of an all-star, maybe even as early as next season. So that's where we are. All right. Well, thank you for watching this. And again, subscribe. Actually, I want to hear your thoughts about what it means, whether you're into running it back or going all in. And if you want to see how they can maybe try out an all-in scenario, give me your thoughts, because maybe there's players I've overlooked. Maybe there's scenarios that I've overlooked. It'd be really good to get this conversation going, because this is what the front office is facing right now. And we're there. We're close. Unfortunately, we're just not one player away from contending. So that's what makes it a little trickier here. But it's still gonna be fun. I love this team. I love it. I'm gonna tell you something for the ones that are still watching this, even though because it's 35 minutes in. People ask, like, why are you a Knicks fan? They were losing all these years. What have they given you? And say, well, look, it's what happened this year. I'm also a Mets fan, and it's a similar type of situation being a Mets fan as it being a Knicks fan in terms of just not perform well. Actually, not necessarily. The Mets have had a lot more success than the Knicks have had. So recently. So let's just put it that way. But I remember when the Mets in '85, when we had that heartbreaker, and the Cardinals killed us. It was brutal. But then when '86 came around and they won it all, I don't think I've ever experienced a greater sports high ever in my life than that. And those Knicks squads were tremendous. The LJ 4-point play and things like that were, fabulous. When they made it to the finals in '99, that was, incredible. But, living out here in LA, I decided to, because of friends and stuff, I was like, you know what? I made a deal with them. Hey, if the Mets are not in the playoffs, I will root for the Dodgers. And man, the Dodgers got to the World Series, I think, twice in a row, and they lost. Then it came to the third time, to the point where we were all like, oh no, if they get there, they got to win. And they finally won. But you know what? I was happy, but it wasn't anything. It was like the difference of watching your brother or your sister triumph, over, a good friend. Of course I can be super happy for a good friend, but it's not the same as when it's your brother. And the Knicks are like my family, and the Knicks fans are like my family. And because we all root for the same squad, we want the same objective. We're all connected by this love of this team. And when I say I bleed orange and blue, it's true. I do. I feel it 10 times stronger when something happens to my team. And I can never say that about an adopted team. All right. At least that's how I feel. Thank you for watching this. Thumbs ups. Let's go Knicks.